Hey everybody, how's it going? We are here for Wednesday's reading. I hope you guys enjoyed Monday's reading. If you haven't, go through the channel. It'll be up there. It'll be the last video that I posted. Just kind of catch you up with how things are going this week and just energetically and maybe some of the advice you can take before coming on to this video. Or if you're just coming in here mid or later into the week and just want to see just kind of where to start from here, then this is the perfect video for that. You by no means have to go back and watch the other videos sequentially before coming to this one. If this is all you have time or all you have interest in seeing, then that's totally fine, and I'm just glad to have you guys here. We're shuffling the cards. We're going to do another basic 3-card reading, past, present, and future, but for those of you more familiar with my channel, it's not exactly past, present, and future. It's just kind of like energies going in, maybe a little bit of advice of what could happen or just like what we might be dealing with, and then just kind of exploring some of the outcomes of those consequences. So yeah, again, I'm really excited to have you guys here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're enjoying the new setup I have. I've been using this for a few other work things, and I think it looks really cool. I'm really excited about it as opposed to the one I had before, which, to be fair, I was still pretty proud of. It was more work I had put into set design than I had for basically any other aspect of like being online, but I think this one looks really cool. I'm really a fan of how the lights kind of play into the aesthetic, and I hope you guys also like the little mini tarot tapestries I have behind me. I think they kind of add to the aesthetic of this channel that I like. And I just look at I get put into a good mood whenever I look at them. So yeah, that being said, let's pull our first card. What are the energies as we're kind of moving into the middle of this week? This is the card that I'm feeling. Ooh, back at it with the Four of Wands. I like being closer to the camera. It's so much easier to focus on the cards. Yeah, Four of Wands, basically where we're starting just kind of in the middle of this week. The energy we're being introduced. Again, it has to do with this just kind of family community. We had touched on that a little bit in Monday's reading, just kind of the community and the infrastructure we're building around ourselves. So I'm hoping that implies that we had a nice good chance to connect with some of our family members, or just maybe reach out to an old friend that we hadn't seen for a while. Just it's just kind of a reminder of like being able to take care of the people in your life, even if you don't have any money to give them or any like real resources. Just your time and communication could be such a huge thing. I know a lot of people talk about how hard it is to keep friends in like once you're out of school or once you quit a job, but the real thing is you just have to be able to consistently I know it's easy to tell ourselves that like we just don't have time for things, but like when you think about it, a lot of it has to do with just like actively making time or going like not being afraid to revisit old friendships, because there have been times where I haven't talked to a friend in years, and all it took to kind of like re-spark that friendship was just someone reaching out to someone else and saying like, hey, like we should hang out sometime. Like you don't even have to go in any more in that, but a lot of times like the best kind of friendships are the ones where you don't speak for months or years, but then you can pick up and talk like you never really stopped talking or never really fell out for anything. So I think this might just be kind of a reminder to check in with your people, even the people you hadn't seen or talked to for a little while. That's always a really nice. It's always really nice to hear from people that you hadn't heard from in a while and maybe were thinking about and just wanted to catch up again. So I think that's kind of a basic where we're at, and maybe just kind of a good reminder for everyone to be thinking about. Check in with your friends. Text a friend. You don't even have to offer to meet up. Just text them, hey. Just ask them how they're doing. It doesn't have to go beyond that. Maybe have a phone call or FaceTime. That's fun too. I love like you FaceTime to someone you haven't talked to in a couple of years. Even if you can't like meet up, that doesn't take too much time. I'm sure most people can probably find some time in their schedule to have a phone call with someone, even if it's for 5 or 10 minutes, and just say, hey, I'm thinking about you. All right. Middle card going like maybe obstacles or just kind of energy we might be dealing with just as we're moving through this kind of middle part of the week is the Eight of Cups. Okay, Eight of Cups. What is that? What are we kind of thinking with this card? It's definitely It's harder when it goes such like a when there's such like this shift in the energies, which I mean makes sense because sometimes obviously sometimes energies can shift pretty rapidly, but it's always interesting going from this very like fiery, passionate, like moving forward communication card to like this very like solo journey, introspection, having to deal with like your own wellness and resources. So I think we're sometimes it's a little more fluid, sometimes it's a bit more choppy. So during the middle of this week, we might be getting kind of like a choppy energy, like uh, something comes up, and you just kind of noticed a shift in the energy. It's kind of like how a lot of times before a big storm, you'll notice huge like temperature drops, like oh, all of a sudden it's been an hour and it's 10 degrees colder than it was an hour ago, and then it starts like pouring rain, and that's not a bad thing, but it's just one of those like really quick shifts. So I think we might be seeing a shift here in the energy that's mostly marked by this card, causing you to just kind of retreat a little bit. I don't know that retreat is a little bit of a right word, but like shift focus, shift your where you're going, what your priorities are. This might just be kind of a forced shift in priorities. You you maybe you got in contact with a friend and it went well and it was nice, and you're kind of like reevaluating that, but then the energy shift and you thought the rest of your week was going to be like, oh yeah, like friendships and building stuff and like how am I building these communities, but then like something comes up, and I can't speak to what it's going to be to the individual person because obviously like it couldn't apply to everyone, but just be on the lookout for something in the middle of the week that's just causing you to like here's all the emotional the cups emotions, here's all the emotional investment you put in these friendships. And it's not that you're leaving forever. I see a common interpretation of this card being like, ah, this is something you have to abandon forever, but it's something you just have to put down for now. It's not that he's always walking away from this forever. I don't want to be like, oh, you met up with a friend and now you hate each other and you're walking away and you're never going to see him again. That's not the energy I'm getting. This is a distinctly different energy from the last card that we pulled. I think it's just kind of like you're setting up these cups thinking it's going to be this thing for this week or this project you're doing right now. But then something comes up and it diverts your attention, it diverts your emotional energy, not even necessarily like physical action of things you're going to do, but it's just going to be divesting from maybe what you thought was prioritized this week, and that's totally fine. Don't beat yourself up for it. That's what's gonna turn this into a negative card. It's not inherently negative. It's not inherently bad. It could be maybe a stressful situation, but it's not. I'm not inherently getting this like negative energy like radiating from this. It has to do with being willing to put something down and know like, well, I'm just gonna have to come back to this later. Like it's fine. It's a pain. I didn't want to have to deal with this, but I'm just gonna have to come back to this later, and that's just how it's gotta be. And that's how you kind of detach yourself from this and stop this from like festering. You don't want to get into that. You don't want to get into that. That's never a good thing. But yeah, so if it's a little choppy, that's fine. You're even getting some choppy waters in that picture, just kind of like the river flowing, a lot of jagged rocks in the mountains. So I don't know. That's fine. It just is what it is. Just be not prepared in the sense of you can always be perfectly prepared for these things, but just kind of know that like if it happens, it happens. So like that's totally fine. You can move forward from that. You can come back to it later. All right, third cup for the third card, not third cup. I'm thinking about the cups. Third card. This isn't cups. It is the Seven of Pentacles. All right. Again, we were getting I think in the last reading we got the Eight of Pentacles, which has to do with like the work that you're doing. Seven of Pentacles actually has to do with the evaluation of work that you've already done, which is kind of interesting because it seems like they would be very good, kind of flip-flopped in terms of like the order in which the cards kind of tell a story within the different minor arcanas. But this one has to do with evaluating the work you've done. So I think this actually lines up pretty. This lines up pretty well with kind of that midweek middle card of like having to set things down. This is coming back to it and kind of evaluating all of the work that you've done or whatever it is, whether it's a relationship, a friendship, the community that you're in, having to do with the first card, the Four of Wands that we pulled earlier. This is just kind of evaluating. He definitely seems like he's maybe a little discontent, so that's why you want to I don't think it's negative in the sense that, like, you're totally like, it's not negative in the sense that objectively there's something wrong. I think you could be feeling like something is off, which is what's causing you to reevaluate, which is totally fine, because honestly, if something's feeling bad, that's what you want to do. That's the productive thing. It is good to feel bad if it means that you are identifying a problem that you can later remove. That's something like, you should be thankful for that. Like like if you're not feeling well, you can be thankful to that in a specific context because it spurred you to go to the doctor and be told that something is wrong, and now you're taking steps to fix it, as opposed to sitting there and festering about it and then it just gets worse. It's not a perfect analogy for every situation, but a lot of times, like, this kind of sadness is something that you can really reflect on and grow from. So I think this has to do with going back later in the week and kind of reflecting on those cups that you had, that like the metaphorical thing you've set down to deal with something else. You are potentially going back and reevaluating it within the context of whatever has happened to you and whatever you have learned from those kind of like choppy energies or whatever might have come up. 11:11 on my camera. Take with that. Take with that what you will in terms of how long we've been recording. I just like to point that out sometimes. It always makes me feel like a little better, even just when I see those repeating numbers, even if you're not looking too harshly into like the numerology of it. Just kind of seeing those repeating numbers always gives me like a little smile. So yeah, this will have to do with looking back at what you learned and what you would put aside with kind of this new eyes, and then being able to move forward from that. So like, again, this definitely kind of going into this middle of the week, I can't exactly tell you how the waters are going to be choppy. They might not be. You might kind of escape, but I think this is just kind of the propensity in which the energy is moving. So be kind of be prepared for that, because I think it's something that could potentially cause an issue if you were not prepared, if you were not kind of like going into it thinking like, I might have to kind of detach a little from this just to make sure I'm not getting so like overwhelmed in a blanket sense. So I think it's going to be good. By the end of this kind of week, middle week, maybe going later into like Wednesday, Thursday, maybe even Friday or the early weekend, hopefully you will have like gathered new information and be able to evaluate things you were looking at earlier in the week with new, fresh eyes, more information added. I think it's going to be productive in the long run, regardless of how it's kind of chopping up in the middle of the week. Even if it doesn't feel like it's great, I think it's going to turn out to be something that's productive for you. But yeah, that's the Wednesday reading. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you got something from it. Let me know if you have any thoughts from this week or Monday's reading, just in terms of how it's been applied, or maybe how something has like kind of shifted, like flown from one reading into the next, and just kind of how that all tied together for you. I always love hearing whenever you guys leave comments on here or any of my other platforms. I just enjoy hearing from you guys, and give it a like if you liked it. Feel free to subscribe if you want more. I've been pretty consistent about posting Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the past month, maybe month or two. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I had a good time talking to you guys, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good one.